Hi, I'm Millena, and I'm here on location for a very special edition of Millena-The Talk Show. And I am here today with two exceptional luminaries, Ben Guillory and Danny Glover.
You need to watch this woman's show.
Welcome to Millena-The Talk Show, where we talk about things that everyone thinks about but rarely ever says.
And I want you to make sure you tune in with Millena. Yeah. Because she's a friend of mine. Keep it real.
So, in this interview, as we do on Millena-The Talk Show, we get comfy and we get real. And I got real with Danny and with Ben. And the first thing I wanted to know was, how did they meet? Here's the story.
The thing about it is that we met in the same time because we grew up at the same time. I remember Ben, he was the doorman at the Avalon Ballroom.
No way.
You don't even remember him. So
that was that long. That's what, 69, 68?
Yes, I remember that.
Wow.
I mean, it was so many. It was that we came at the same time, but I think I really, our relationship began to find it's really solidifying. I think about 1972, something like that. We ran at each other, and we both were into a life change. You know, but it was the same life change. We were going toward theater. We were going toward acting, and we thought about various other things, you know, but never thinking that we wanted to be engaged in something that, and I'm saying we had been engaged in other things, but something that was honest, something that really, I think, is transformed both of us. What we've done, what we learned about ourselves, how we matured in what we learned about ourselves, I think transformed both of us.
Okay.
You know, I mean, and I think that's the remarkable, wherever we look at both of our careers, that says we have an opportunity to start this theater company right there, which is totally Ben. Ben won. If Ben doesn't run with it, with only me, it doesn't happen. Ben ran with it.
Really? Yeah.
He ran with it. You
now,
know.
let me go back to something you just said. You said it transformed you. Like, how so?
Yeah, you have to say. I mean, it's almost unimaginable what your life would have been had not you embraced this at 26, 27 years old. You know, because you had one part of your life you had lived out. Right. You know. Yeah. And then you embrace something that in the whole nature of itself, it does that. You know, the work singularly, the most important work that I did that changed my whole trajectory about what I felt about theater and the role of art and everything was the Blood Knock.
Really?
Then, in May of 1976, after he had spent a year, his first year at the American Conservatory Theater, I had spent my first year in a celebrated Black Actors Workshop at the AACT at the American Conservatory Theater. And I remember we were at a little, they called year-end party. It was on Fifth Avenue in a cottage house. You know how a carriage house? A carriage house, yeah. A carriage house they used to have when they go to Fifth Avenue at Irving. Okay. I remember that day when we were in the party. Everybody had spent whatever, 7 months, 8 months, or whatever it is, and we're in that party that May. And being asked a question that all actors do, especially when you're learning. What are we going to do for the summer? Oh, we'll do some work on some scenes. We'll work on some monologue. I mean, that's characteristic. I don't know if it was characteristic of us 40-something years ago, you know, 42 years ago, and it was a characteristic of actors today, and before us and before them as well.
That's just the answer.
And so, he gave me the blood knot. I remember Ben had his office on 2nd Street. I worked on 4th and Mission, just a few blocks, just 2 blocks, 2.5 blocks from his office.
Okay.
And I mean, I had the blood knot in my hand. And what a more, it could have been a more appropriate piece to have in your hand, because the writing is so poetic and so beautiful. It is the kind of language that often, I think it's classical in his poetry and his writing of this man.
Athol Fugard.
Athol Fugard. And that's what it was. So and then we had a wonderful friend of ours come and looked over, directed, shaped it for us. And I don't think it could have been, anyone could have done that in better than him.
Felix.
Better than Felix Justice. Because on the one hand, here we are, all these actors trying to grasp the nature of what was going to be our career, right there. Here we are, and with this piece of material, which is poetic, lyrical, is beautiful writing. You know, Ma, how are you, old woman? What's that? You don't remember me? Well, to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help me God. I said, got sick of myself and made a change. What do you do with that? You know, the guy's having a monologue with his mother. Ma, you know, what do you do with that? Or June, you know, as they said, pen pal. You know, you need a pen pal. Zach, you need a pen pal. This whole thing.
Part of the plot of the play.
It is brilliant. I mean, you can't, and you only learn the craft of acting, as we both learned through working with the work of great writers.
Absolutely. So
it was, I'll never forget, somebody never forget that moment. And I was trying to grasp it, you know, the language. I mean, we don't, you know.
We have to work with those South African accents.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
And then we had, but it was the defining moment.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Miles with TPC Payroll HR Consultants. Founded in 2000 to create something different, I found that the local community was in need of a payroll HR service that was unique and really caring about their clients. I am so grateful for my team.
Hi, my name is Pamela Miles. I've worked for the payroll company for 16 years and I'm the director of payroll.
The Director of Marketing position opened up 2 years ago, and that's when I stepped in. My name is Amy Bayani, and I'll be here to help you.
Hi, I'm Bill Cleland. I'm the COO, and I came to the company after 5 years as a customer, and I'm proud to be part of an organization that truly cares about its customers and the community.
If you've tried the rest, now come with the best.
And I tell Ben this all the time. I remember when that summer, we worked on the play. That whole after that, worked on the play.
You go to work and come over.
I'll go to work over and come over, and during lunchtime. And then we built the set. We had a young sister who was a wardrobe designer. We got the music, Letta and Bula, Dollar Brand, who's now Abdul. I can't think of his last name. Pardon me for not thinking of Dollar Brand's last name. Hugh Masekela and Mary McCabe. We put that moment, the soundtrack and everything else and we did this play. And we sat up there. I remember that moment after our first performance. We held the audience hostage for 4 hours. 3 hours.
The play is usually cut. The play is usually cut.
We go through the whole thing.
4 hours.
4 hours.
Oh,
you know, we were young Turks, boy, and just we wanted to do it.
But we something happened, and I remember that, and we often embellish stuff, and our memory is always one we talk about. But something happened that I knew this is what I wanted to do.
And so from that moment,
I knew this was what I was supposed to do, and I tell you, and Ben was responsible for bringing it. Now I've known about Mandela and know about South Africa, but was responsible for bringing a piece of art, which is able to now shape the way I look at theater, the way I look at art. One, it's the writing so wonderful. You learn the craft of acting. Two, you say in so many words that this is important. That's what the work great art does. You know, it tells you this is important. Yeah. Paul knew that.
Yeah, there's a whole value that comes with it, and we were looking for that. We were not just looking to play.
Right.
You know, that whole political and social consciousness that was burgeoning in both of us, that we were trying to figure out stuff and getting hit, and the whole movement was happening. You know, the movement was happening, and we wanted to do a kind of theater that reflected that, and there wasn't a lot of it available to us. And this was before August, way before August Wilson, and of course Lorraine was there, but there wasn't a lot. And I thought, you know, he was speaking truth to power in South Africa, taking his life and his wife's life in his hands by writing his plays. Zex Mokai, Winston and Tunje, all those brothers that worked with Athol, you know, that traveled with him, and make a long story short, he traveled with Winston and John Candy, and when they got back, he had to get them out of the country by saying they were his servants, basically. And they were going to do the play. When they did the play in the country in South Africa, got wind of what they were doing, they came back to the country, and then they wouldn't let them out again. And the whole artistic community of the world rose up in defiance of South Africa and forced them through pressure to allow these men to move around. It was very profound stuff, very, very, you know, and it moved us, and it gave us a sense of value and worth that is, you know, black men. Yeah. We're black men, you know. And there's that, which is a big part of all of this. You know?
But you know, when you talk about Robey, you think about Paul's statement when Paul said that artists are the gatekeepers of truth.
They said something profound that I'd never heard, but that I absolutely love. I'm going to add it to my quotes that I love. They said that artists are the gatekeepers of the truth. That is so true. So true. Because as artists, we get to embody people, their emotions, their everything that they have going on, and we have to internalize it in order to make it authentic, in order to share that in hopes that other people will learn something. They'll hear something that'll make them say, oh, wow, is that me? Or, oh, I know someone like that. It's so important to just be really fully invested into that character and to be true, because you never know whose lives that it's speaking to, whether it's a play or film or television. It's all so very important because it's life imitating art, imitating life. Artists are truly the gatekeepers of the truth. This interview was so exciting. I learned so much, not only about Danny and Ben's personal relationship up in San Francisco and how things got started, but I learned a history lesson. I mean, history that's not in the history books, the teachers aren't going to tell you, but I got actual history. Like, did you know that W.E.B. Du Bois was Paul Robeson's mentor? I had no idea. But here, I learned that and so much more. Here, listen.
W.E.B. Du Bois, arguably, I would say the greatest intellectual of the 20th century, at least the first half of the 20th century, formed the Council on African Affairs. In 1939, explicitly in view with the view that the struggles for independence, decolonization, were going to be on the table after World War II. And these two visionaries, and their vision had the wherewithal to form the Council of African Affairs in anticipation of that. They were both at the Manchester Conference in 1944, where all the future leaders of the Caribbean, from every place else, from Africa, Kwame Nkrumah was there, and I could go on and on. You know, Eric
Kenyatta
Lee
was
was
there.
there.
Kenyatta was there.
I'm sorry.
Kenyatta, he was there. Jomo Kenyatta was he?
Jomo, I don't know if Jomo was there. Yeah, but there's so many of those leaders who will go on to lead their liberation struggles.
And I made a comparison between Danny and Ben with W.E.B. Du Bois and Paul Robeson. And the answer was what they do is Danny and Ben, they elevate their name, that they respect them so much and are so inspired that that's what they do. They elevate their name. You know, someone so personal and close to me touched me so deeply and that I just want to elevate his name. And that was my father. And he's deceased, but he really, really moved me that, you know, I'm working on a documentary about him and what he did back in the 1950s and 1960s as far as helping to desegregate the lunch counters in Virginia. He did a movement on that, and it was the information that I found out about it was so deep that it was written by someone I didn't even know that I decided I wanted to elevate his name by doing this documentary. So I'm asking you, is there anyone in your life that you just revere so much and that they have touched you and moved you so much that you want to elevate their name and do something in their honor? Let me know. I'd love to know. Please write in the comments or go on the Facebook page. But I'd like to know. But as far as Ben and Danny, this is what they said.
Yeah, we elevate their name, their presence. Their presence was huge.
You know, W.E.B. Du Bois, I mean, it should be said, he lived to 95. He died the eve of the March on Washington, the day before the March on Washington. He wrote 2 autobiographies. He is probably the most dense scholar of the 20th century. He's the man that coined that phrase, the problem of the 20th century is the problem of the colored man. And he was truly, I know this is a phrase that's used often, and it kind of diminishes it, but truly before his time. Truly before his time. As Paul was, W.E.B. was Paul's mentor in many, many ways. And I feel personally very humbled to even be couched in the same sentence as these guys, you know, because what we're working for was inspired by these men and certainly other men and women that came before them, that fought the good fight, that continue to fight the good fight, and we simply wanted to contribute. We wanted to contribute in ways that has an aesthetic, that has a truly, again, a social consciousness that speaks to how human beings treat one another and to track that, to discover ways to be better.
One of the things I really wanted to know was, how does Robey now play a role in social justice and activism? It's very important. So what does Robey do right now with it? This is what they had to say.
Awareness. The kind of work we do gives our audience a certain kind of awareness and insight. You know, when you have a group of people, whether it's 50 people or 500 people, they see the same thing on the same night, under the same lights, and hear the same sounds exactly the same in the same room, you still get 50 to 500 different stories or interpretations of it.
That's true.
Learn that very early, that one cannot seek to really delicate word, teach. because one walks away from an experience with one's own lesson.
Yes.
And the lesson that we might have wanted to give is changed through interpretation, through that person's experience.
Right, and it also is where they are in their life.
Absolutely.
It's where they are able to perceive that and understand that.
Yeah, so we try to do the best we can. We find wonderful people. We've been lucky enough to work with a lot of wonderful artists. Yeah, train wonderful artists and give them what we can, and they come back and give. This is the people that we work with, and it's working pretty good.
Ben, you are a director, you're an actor, you've been in the business for an excess of 40 plus years. Can you tell me exactly how Robey got started?
You know, this is the short version. It was a long, long time ago, and we were young Turks looking for work, trying to find a way to work, and we found a play called The Blood Knot. We did it in San Francisco, in the Bay Area, where we both basically grew up. And during that, we had conversations about we wanted to do a certain kind of work, a kind of socially conscious work, kind of work that really challenged us. And there wasn't much of that for us as actors of color in the Bay Area. Not much, not enough, not to satisfy us. So we talked a lot about what we would do when we had careers going and had the means to do things. We started our own theater. We wanted to do a very specific kind of work. Well, fast forward about 20-some years, right? At least that. And we're here in Los Angeles, and it's 1994, and we said, okay, we're going to do this now. Hence, the Robey Theater Company was born. Robey was Paul Robeson's athletic nickname when he was at Rutgers University. And he's the inspiration for the Robey Theater Company. You know about, and Danny will speak to it, but you know about Danny's political and activism, his background, and as very much parallel to what Paul was standing for in his career, what he stood for so many things, and his talent as an artist. Well, this is a reflection, and we wanted to emulate that, and wanted to become a certain kind of steward of the African American and global diaspora. So, and we've been working towards that.
I asked Danny, you know, he's had an illustrious career, especially with the Lethal Weapon franchise and also The Color Purple, but I noticed he's also an activist. So I wanted to know, like, how, you know, what made him decide to choose Paul Robeson to name the theater company after? What was inspiring about who they call Robey? This is what he had to say.
Well, first of all, I couldn't think of a more appropriate name to give to this vision of theater and as a cultural underlay than Paul Robeson. Robey is his nickname, but people call him Robey. Sure, it's his nickname. And you can imagine the cat is huge and big. I mean, when I say big, I mean big in life, in life itself. It was utterly, he was probably, I think, in terms of an artist, a lawyer, and an All-American, first black All-American football player. I mean, played pro ball in his infancy a little bit.
Wow.
A singer, one of the great voices of the 20th century. And any century, one of the great voices, everything. And as I think about him, how, as I use Mary McLeod Bethune's description of him, the tallest tree in our forest. So it was appropriate. It was a no-brainer, really, in terms of that, because I think we come out of an activist time. Ben and I have been activists in our own way. We always saw theater as a way of elevating our experience as human beings and transforming who we are as human beings through knowledge. I mean, we have always said that. That's what Paul was about.
It was so much fun. I enjoyed it tremendously. Yeah, it was a lot of work putting it together and producing it, but you know, as part of the joy of being in this business is seeing our hard work come to life. And this was for such a good cause because I'm on the board of directors of Robey, and I really want to see it be represented in the most positive light, and I appreciate the good work that Robey does. So the fact that Junie Smith did a documentary on Robey, oh my goodness, it was, I just loved it so much. I loved being a part of it, and I wanted to know, how did it come about? Why did Junie decide that this was going to be his next documentary project? And I also wanted to know, what did Danny and Ben think about being the subject of a brand new documentary?
The Robeson effect. You know, this is.
Oh, the Robey effect.
No, the Robeson.
Oh, it's the Robeson effect.
It's the Robeson effect. Yeah.
That's the title of the documentary.
Yeah, I call it the Robey effect. Call it vanity. But no, it's the Robeson effect. It is. It was christened that by it's essentially its creator, that is Junie Smith, who saw him last year. He had done a documentary on Woody, and it was here in Los Angeles. There was a screening, and I mentioned to him, I said, you know, it's our 25th anniversary next year. And he said, your 25th anniversary? Well, then we should do a documentary on the Robey Theater Company. And I said, yeah, we should do a documentary on the Robey Theater Company. And Junie lives on the East Coast, lives in New York City.
Wow.
And he said, I'll do it.
Wonderful.
And we just provided him with materials about Robey, and he did it.
Wow.
And it'll be in the festivals, and we'll see it later. And it's a very unique documentary. I haven't seen that many documentaries. Have you seen that many documentaries on a theater company? I mean, on a specific theater company, other than the Royal Shakespeare Company or something like that? I haven't seen it.
No, I can't recall it.
When he did,
this puts us on the real spot.
The documentary he did on Woody, those who know theater and specifically black theater,
Woody King,
you know, is pretty much the grand old man of black theater. You know, Woody's been around for since the early 70s, and has launched so many careers and done so many pieces of work. And so he did a documentary, a wonderful documentary on Woody. Woody talked about his career and his career path. And this is different. Obviously, of course it would be different, but it's very different. Again, because Junie is, you know, he's a filmmaker.
Yeah.
He's a filmmaker and storyteller. And we simply gave him all access to archival material about the Robey Theater Company, and he took it from there.
Well, that's wonderful. Now, when he first came to you and asked you if he could do this, what was your initial reaction?
Well, joy.
Of course.
Was
it a surprise, a shock, joy?
Well, it was somewhat of a surprise, but we had thought about, we've been archiving materials, and we usually film an archival film of most of the work that we do, including the workshops, including the labs and all of that. And we wanted to assemble it in some kind of way so that, well, for posterity, because we found a lot of value in what we did, and we just didn't want it to simply disappear.
Right.
So when Junie said this, it was a real opportunity. And knowing his work as a filmmaker, we knew we were in good hands, completely trusting. So we just let him have the access to the work, and he did the rest.
The Las Vegas Review-Journal is the largest and most widely read and visited news and information source in Nevada. As the region's most trusted independent news media company, the award-winning Las Vegas Review-Journal has been serving Southern Nevadans for more than 100 years. The multimedia news, information, and entertainment company owns a strong portfolio of print and digital niche products, including The Neon, Luxury Las Vegas Magazine, El Tiempo, LVRJ.com. Visit mylvrj.com today.
We're here with Mr. Junie Smith, the director, the producer, and the writer of The Robeson Effect. Welcome, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
Mr. Smith, can you tell me, what was your inspiration for creating a documentary about the Robey Theater Company and Paul Robeson?
In 1985, had a theater called the Rainbow Connection Theater here in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And I was in San Francisco or somewhere up north.
You said 1935,
1985.
This thing said you heard 35?
You're the only one that heard of 35.
You didn't hear 35, then?
You didn't hear 35?
He said, the man said 85.
Huh? I got you back.
And I saw an actor by the name of Ben Guillory do Paul Robeson in a theater up north, and was blown away, and I never forgot him, you know. So we started this theater, and one day in walked Ben Guillory. He says, I just moved to Los Angeles, I want to do some theater. He came, he saw a couple of productions, and then he says, I want to do something. I said, what do you want to do? He said, I want to do Moon and the Rainbow Show. And he came in, and he transposed the whole theater. He brought real theater there. We just had a space, it was a dance space. We had some curtains back there, and that was it. But again, Ben took it to another level. And when he did that, all the actors were just rushing to work with us. I mean, we were just, you know, overwhelmed. We couldn't cast everybody. As a result, one year we did 20 plays. After he did that production, he put us on the map. So I fell in love with him ever since then. Then 4 years later, I had the privilege of co-starring with Danny in Lethal Weapon 2. And I knew the connection between Danny and Ben, and that they were actors, but what happened is that...
What connection?
Well, these are two guys from the projects of San Francisco. They didn't know anything about what they were going to become. One of them becomes an international movie star. The other one becomes a steward of a theater institution that is very, you know, slacking in our culture, in our community. And he facilitated a whole lot of actors and technicians, etc. And they came in from the projects of San Francisco and then tore Hollywood apart.
And so that's how
the story.
And that was your inspiration for making the Robeson Effect.
Yes, because any storyteller, you know, it's about we're storytellers. Yeah. And that's the story.
Okay.
That's the through line. All the other stuff just, but can you imagine, you know, Danny Glover didn't even know he was going to be an actor.
And so what inspired you to, I mean, I understand that history, which is so wonderful, and that in and of itself is inspirational. Yeah. But what inspired you right here, right now? What was that aha moment that said, you know what, I'm going to do this?
Last year, Ben was in the audience. We were at the Waco Theater Company screening Willie King's film, and they had a Q&A later. I saw Ben, and we were talking about black theater, and I said, Ben, so Robey's got to be, what, 18, 19 years now, right? He says, no, we're going on 25. I said, I beg your pardon. And I was impregnated at that moment. I said, I got to tell the story before anybody else tells it. This is my man. I got to get a whole reverse. Because I was just, I knew that it had to be documented. It had to be. It must.
Okay.
And so that was it. I had no choice.
Okay.
You know, it just hit me. It was it.
You know, I fell in love with theater when I was in New York City. Fell in love with it because theater is not designed to ask questions. It's designed to give answers to aspects of our daily life. Listen to what they have to say as we talk about theater on the West Coast.
You know, you have these groups of artists that come that are young and that are hungry, have large appetites, and they come and they're creative souls, and they're young, and those that sustain become the artists and the caretakers, the stewards, the spokesperson of all of us. You know, we are of a generation that is a certain generation. This generation that is here now has many more reference points to what the movement was moving towards, fighting for. That many of those artists have benefited, and some don't know how much they have benefited and what it took. So it's a learning process. Robey is part of that. We offer these things. And as you said, you know, we try to say some things that will enlighten folks, but that's on our audience. It's how they accept it. Really, we can only do the work because it was always about the work.
As we wrapped up, I asked them what was coming up, what was next for the Robey Theater Company, and Ben answered that question. Then I asked Danny what he has coming up, and well, here's Danny.
Well, it's 25th anniversary, big celebration.
Yes.
Big celebration,
Yes.
all through 2019, and we'll open the season with Birdland Blue.
Birdland Blue, okay.
Randy's play, and that'll happen April 6th. Birdland in New York, period, 1958, Miles Davis and Company, around the time he was doing the album Kind of Blue. And we'll start there.
Okay, well that's exciting. And Danny, what's next for you? What do you have coming up?
I don't know.
There's always something.
All I know is I'm here right now. And I'm thankful I'm here. I'm thankful I got here.
Thank you so much for tuning into this special edition of Millena-The Talk Show live on location at the Robey Theater Company in downtown Los Angeles. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, talking to my friends Ben and Danny and learning all about their history and how the Robey Theater got started and actual United States history during that time period. I mean, I learned so much in that time. I hope you did too. Thank you so much for tuning into this show. And please, don't forget to subscribe. See you next time. Mwah.
Tonight, I am brought here by just the name Robeson alone.
Happy anniversary to the Robey. Happy 25th anniversary.
Happy anniversary. We worked together for 100 years. That's all I can say about that. Ben, I worked with Ben and when he first started the Robey Theater Action Folks. Pretty much, I just watched it continue on.
Happy anniversary, Robey Theater, 25 years. It's really a pleasure to be here.
Happy anniversary and many, many more to you. I came all the way out here. In fact, I drove by car from New York to LA. And I'm here. I have an apartment. I'm a student in the Robey Theater. So, congratulations.
Oh, Ben was the one who said, let's start. We talk about it. You know how some of us are. I'm one of those. I talk a lot, but I need somebody to nudge me along and push me. He pushed me with an idea and embracing the idea on so many levels. I and the audiences who came to see the work, the actresses and actors who came to perform in that work, all of us grew. So I want to introduce you to someone I believe is very special. My friend for longer than we want to know, Ben Guillory.
potent, brave, and reverend senors, my very noble and approved good masters. Yeah. You know, it's always been about the work. And the work, as he said, has been fulfilling. The best part of it is two things. Collaborating with the artists and seeing and hearing the appreciation from the community that comes to see the work. Thank you, Millena, for putting this together. And all the work that you've done to have it to be a success. You're very good at this. No wonder you're in such command, so I'm glad to be working with you. You know, there's so many people that, everybody in the room, I should think, but we'd be here for another 30 minutes.
You need to watch this woman's show.
Welcome to Millena-The Talk Show, where we talk about things that everyone thinks about but rarely ever says.
And I want you to make sure you tune in with Millena, because she's a friend of mine. Keep it real.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Miles with TPC Payroll HR Consultants. Founded in 2000 to create something different, I found that the local community was in need of a payroll HR service that was unique and really caring about their clients. I am so grateful for my team.
Hi, my name is Pamela Miles. I've worked for the payroll company for 16 years and I'm the director of payroll.
The Director of Marketing position opened up 2 years ago, and that's when I stepped in. My name is Amy Bayani, and I'll be here to help you.
Hi, I'm Bill Cleland. I'm the COO, and I came to the company after 5 years as a customer, and I'm proud to be part of an organization that truly cares about its customers and the community.
If you've tried the rest, now come with the best.
The Las Vegas Review-Journal is the largest and most widely read and visited news and information source in Nevada. As the region's most trusted independent news media company, the award-winning Las Vegas Review-Journal has been serving Southern Nevadans for more than 100 years. The multimedia news, information, and entertainment company owns a strong portfolio of print and digital niche products, including The Neon, Luxury Las Vegas Magazine, El Tiempo, LVRJ.com. Visit mylvrj.com today.